connect to Mr. Salahuddin to answer it offline. Thank you very much, sir. Yeah. So, good morning, sir. Gary Cokins. Apologies for you to keep you waiting. The schedule got delayed due to some technical issues from the speakers, and of course, it's a schedule. So, apologies for. Please accept our apology. Okay. Uh, yeah. So, yeah, you have all your time, whatever specified. Just please feel free. Okay. I would like to invite Mr. Gary Cokins to give just a brief. Gary is talking on balanced scorecard, bridging strategy and daily operations. It's very, very important topic where strategy and operations are connected. Okay. So Gary Cokins is a globally recognized expert in enterprise performance management, EPM, activity-based costing, and business analytics. With over 4 decades of experience, he has held senior roles at Deloitte, KPMG, EDS, and SAS, and now leads analytics-based performance management LLC. His work focuses on helping organizations implement strategy, balance scorecard, enterprise performance management, and customer profitability. So thank you, sir, for joining session today, and look forward to hear you the wonderful presentation. Over to you.
Okay, Sheikh. Well, thanks for inviting me. First, we need to get my screen, my PowerPoints up. So I'm hoping
Yeah, let us try, sir.
that I just
That is
hit the.
that is a challenge. Yeah, let us try. If you're able to make it, you keep the presentation open so that you don't miss it. Then when you click share button in the below a picture, so there is a mic, there is a audio, and then there is in the middle there is a
Wait.
share button. Yeah. Now we can see the full screen. Full
Oh,
screen. We can see the
I
full
hit the
screen.
wrong.
We see the full screen from
No,
your.
but just okay. I've got the PowerPoint open. I'm hitting share screen. There's
Just click on the
Chrome
screen.
tab, window.
Yeah, we click on window.
Yeah, well, there's.
Click on window. So if the PowerPoint is in a presentation mode, you can
Yeah,
select that.
yeah, but it's only. Oh, shoot. No, it's not that one.
You want to help Praveen
No,
because this
my
sharing is a
my
little
my
tricky.
power my PowerPoint is open.
Mhm.
Oh, I hope we don't have to have it manually.
Yeah.
Oh, there
Perfect.
it is. All right,
Oh,
there it is.
thank you, sir. Thank you. Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah,
Can you
please.
see it?
Yeah, perfect.
All
Clear.
right, let me.
Very clear. Yep.
All right. Well, let's see. What time is it? 8:05. So I'll be in the US. I'll be going to 8:55 by
Yeah.
50 minutes. That's
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. Take your time, sir.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. I've presented several times for the Data Labs India. It's always a pleasure to work with Sheikh and his team. There will likely not be questions to be answered at the end. So my suggestion is write my email address down, which is gcokins@garycokins.com, and directly email me with your questions. Also, if you go to my website, underneath below the horizontal tabs are many free articles. You don't have to pay or purchase anything. So let's get going. Who am I? Well, Sheikh already introduced me. A little more in my background. I did receive my Bachelor of Science in Industrial Engineering and Operations Research from Cornell University in 1971, my MBA from Northwestern Kellogg School 74. If you're doing the math, I am 76 years old, but I feel like I'm 46 years old. My career was pretty much in 3/3. My first decade was in industry with a large U.S. manufacturing conglomerate, and then many years in consulting, 7 years with Deloitte, 5 years with KPMG, 5 years with EDS. And then for 16 years, I was with SAS. People don't, what's that? It's actually the world's largest privately owned software vendor. 15,000 employees that focuses on analytics. Why are those books there? And I retired from SAS 8 years ago. Now I do a lot of education training and some consulting projects. Why are those books there? I think careers have a lot more to do with luck and circumstances than being smart and competent. And I was lucky in 1988. KPMG struck an exclusive contract relationship with Harvard Business School professor Robert S. Kaplan, who we will be talking about with Balanced Scorecard. And I got recruited, but Kaplan did the pioneering work in activity-based costing. I got trained, I implemented it, I wrote some books, and that's the story on the books. So let's go. Who will benefit from this presentation? Managers who have previously struggled at promoting FP&A, financial planning and analysis, corporate performance management methods, including the strategy map and its balanced scorecard. Okay, and managers who intend to champion any or all corporate performance management improvement techniques, and they need a compelling call to action. And the reason I have champion in quotation marks is because it's my observation that although it's good if the senior executive team sponsors or advocates innovation and new ideas, often they are preoccupied with firefighting and short-term priorities. It's typically managers 1, 2, 3 levels down in the organization chart who ask themselves, how long do I want our organization to continue to perpetuate using stale or arcane methods? And they're the ones that'll do a pilot project or a proof of concept to demonstrate to their coworkers, other line managers, executives above them, that this is the way to go. So if you're earlier in your career and you're lower down in the org chart, that's fine. I like presenting to you. You've got a future to be successful. I love this cartoon, drowning in data, but starving for information. You've got this poor beleaguered clerk, sad, shoulders hunched, paper all around him, and the supervisor to the doorway in the left is asking him, looks like you've got all the data. What is the holdup? I gave you the request this morning. Why don't you have the answer this afternoon? And the message here, the message.
We are in the title page only. Yeah, it's something wrong. Yeah.
What you have? What?
We are in the title page.
It's a cartoon.
No. We are not seeing that. Yeah. It was there in the slide share mode, but now it's gone back to the normal mode. Can you try once again, sir?
Well, I'm going to stop share. We may have to have you manually.
Do you want us to share? Mm-hmm.
Well, let's just try it one more time. Oh, golly.
It was there. It started very nicely, but then.
Is it the cartoon?
No, we did not see the cartoon. Yeah, now we see the cartoon.
Okay, well, that's where I was. Okay, so let me go to full screen. Still see the cartoon?
No, full screen is not visible. If you go do it from here, full screen will not be seen.
Okay, so do you see the cartoon?
Yeah, cartoon is there, okay, but right. In normal mode, not in the presentation mode.
I won't use full screen. Let me go to the next one. Okay. You got to move faster now. I know it's been a long day. So my agenda is I'm going to clarify the confusion and lack of consensus about performance management. I'm going to briefly describe 8 pressures that have caused interest in it. Then we'll get into the main topic, the strategy map and the balanced scorecard from Kaplan and Norton. I want to differentiate key performance indicators from operating performance indicators. They're all measures. They're all important. They serve different purposes. And then I'm going to bring it all together. How does it fit together like gears in a machine? And I'm going to conclude with a real frustration I have, which is what is taking so long for organizations to implement these methods? So I said there is confusion and lack of consensus, about corporate performance management. If you just search on performance management, you'll get human resources and personnel like employee appraisals. It's much broader. Is it scorecards, dashboards, KPIs, the strategy map? Yes, but that's a subset. Is it about process, productivity, and quality improvement? Yes, but that's also a subset. That's like business process management, lean management, Six Sigma quality, or all of the above. And the good news is this: corporate performance management is familiar with methods. Many people are familiar with them. You've read about them in business journals. The problem is when organizations do implement them, they implement them in isolation of each other. So you've got planning and budgeting people in one part of the building, risk management, other part of the building, process improvement, another part of the building, and so forth. You get a lot more power and synergy when you seamlessly integrate all of these methods like gears in a machine, okay? And since I believe, Sheikh, you will be providing a PDF of my slides, there's the definition I just described.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what's caused interest in corporate performance management. I'm going to go through 8, and then we'll zero in on the first one, which is executive frustration with strategy failure. Most executives are quite good at formulating their strategy. Their frustration is failure to successfully implement their strategy. And there's a fair amount of empirical evidence on this. There's an executive recruiting firm in Chicago. And incidentally, I was raised in Chicago. It's a wonderful city in the USA. And they monitor the involuntary turnover of CEOs in North America. The firing of CEOs, it's increasing every year. And I believe the reason is post-Enron, the failure of Enron, board of directors take their job far more seriously. And if the CEO is not implementing the strategy, they fire them. Number 2, increased accountability. Today, there is no place to hide. Managers and employee teams will be monitored. They will be measured. Doesn't necessarily mean their jobs are at risk, but it could adversely impact their salary increases and job promotions. 3, more rapid decision-making. Unlike a few months ago or years ago when you could test and learn and have meetings in conference rooms, today people are on the phone. Go or no go, yes or no. They have to make a decision in real time. 4, mistrust of the managerial accounting system for transparency and accuracy. The reality is most managers do not trust the management accounting system. Why? The bane of it, overhead cost allocations. They know they're flawed and misleading. 5, poor customer value management. The reality is customers are the source of value wealth creation for shareholders and owners. We need to connect the actions of what we interact with customers, including producing customer profit and loss statements. 6, contentious budgeting, poor resource capacity planning. I believe the annual budgeting process is a disaster. It's broken. So my suggestion is stop budgeting. Well, there I caught your attention. But that begs the question, what was the purpose of a budget in the first place? And can we replace it using these corporate performance management methods? And you can. 7, dysfunctional supply chain management. The problem there is most customers view their suppliers as the enemy. It's an adversarial relationship. That needs to stop. It needs to be a marriage. Supply chains are competing against other supply chains for share of wallet. So all the trading partners need to collaborate. And finally, 8, unfulfilled return on investment promises from large IT systems like ERP systems. And the issue there is if you ask the IT director a couple of years after you've just completed implementing the large complex ERP system, you ask that IT director, how well do you believe the return on investment has met or exceeded what the ERP software salesman sold you on in the past? They'll say, I'm not sure. We put in a lot of time so far, and I don't see we've got the payback. That does not mean you don't implement the ERP system. You have to. All your competitors have it. But the problem is ERP systems produce a lot of data, but not necessarily information. And what the corporate performance management methods do is they create that information. Here's a quick picture of how it all fits together. We'll start with the big blue box at the organization. That's your employees and your assets. Notice customer box. We want to basically serve our customers. We connect the customers all the way to shareholders. That's the key. But if we start with customer loyalty to the left, that's where the executives formulate the strategy. Then they communicate it down using scorecards and dashboards. And that provides feedback to the managers and the employee teams on how well they're doing. So it's like the heart and your lungs and your blood system with the veins. It's all connected. So let's get into the main topic of my presentation. As I mentioned, the first of the 8 causes was failure by executives to execute their well-formulated strategy. And to validate this, here's a survey from a group. Look at of the highest, most concerns of executives. Look at number one at the top, executing the strategy. Now, my talk will be based on the books that were created by Professor Kaplan, and I do continue to communicate with Bob Kaplan. I mean, he really helped my career 20 years ago. And people will always ask, which book should you get? I would get the fourth one on the right, The Execution Premium, because it's basically includes all of the stuff from the first three books. So let's talk about the Balanced Scorecard. Notice I have a strategy map ellipse going into the Balanced Scorecard, but above that is something arguably more important. It's the vision and mission statement. That must come from the CEO and the executives. That's their job. Their job is to set direction. Their job is to answer the question, where do we want to go? But what the strategy map and Balanced Scorecard answers is a different question. How will we get there? What are the projects or initiatives to accomplish, or core processes we need to improve? So the strategy map and Balanced Scorecard, they're mechanical, or like those gears. They help realize the vision and mission of the executives. So here's a fictitious example or a high level of a strategy map. Sadovlin Orzek in the previous presentation did a pretty good job referencing. Here's the four perspectives, step from bottom to top. In each of these four perspectives, those rectangles, those are strategic objectives. So if the organization's accomplishing these strategic objectives from bottom to top, they will then implement the strategy, and that maximizes shareholder value. All of those arrows, those are measures, the key performance indicators. You know, you get what you measure. You can't measure it, you can't manage it. If you can't manage it, you can't improve it. Now, here's a decomposition, an example with 2, 3, or 4 strategic objectives in each of the 4 perspectives. Now, the reason that motivated Kaplan and Norton to create this were 2. One, they observed that executives were overreacting to financial results reported at the end of the period. They said, you need to shift your attention to non-financial metrics caused and created during the period so that you could react to them. The other reason they basically created it is they observed that most managers and employee teams do not understand the executive team strategy. I mean, for example, if I walked into your organization and randomly interviewed 10 employees in the hallway and said, quick, can you articulate your executive team strategy to me? How many of them could do it or do it well? Probably none. So the reason is, so the strategy map communicates the strategy to managers and employees in a way that they can understand it. So to summarize, if you start at the bottom, a learning environment will stimulate process excellence. Process excellence will lead to customer intention, intimacy, loyalty, retention, and that'll create the financial value for the owners and the shareholders. Now, here is a real simple example of a USA airline called Southwest Airlines. They were a low budget airline. In the beginning, they only had 3 jets. And they needed to basically get a 4th and 5th jet, but they didn't have the money to make it. So what the executive team concluded is, well, if we can do a faster ground turnaround, you know, not just 1 hour on the ground, but 15 minutes, we can get a lot more flights in. So in their strategy map, if you start at the bottom, they came up with examples like, well, let's let the flight attendants clean the plane rather than bringing a crew of cleaners in. Oh, let's get a special hose to put fuel into the plane so that it'll be filled in just a few minutes, not an hour. So like a speeding race car stop. So if we look from bottom to top, the learning and growth objectives develop those systems. That will then contribute to fast ground turnaround. Now we're up to the customer view. We can offer lower prices. We'll attract more customers, and that'll give us higher profits, increased revenues, and lower operating expenses because we basically were more efficient. This is an exemplary example from a friend of mine, a consultant. He took the annual report management letter at the top and basically took some words out of it. Now, because I'm not in full view, this may not work too well. So he basically took these terms out of that length, put them over to the right. Those are terms, quotes in the text of the management letter. And then he basically put each of them into the strategy map 4 perspectives really quick. Okay. Now, in each of the rectangles in the strategic objectives are these 5 columns. And what this slide is showing is who is responsible for which, the executive team or delegating it to the managers and employees. Well, the first item, just defining the strategic objective, of course, that must come from the executives. That's their job. But the way that I implement strategy map and balanced scorecard for my clients is I say, now delegate the strategy map to the managers in the next level down and ask them to identify the projects and initiatives or the core processes. And then have them identify what the KPIs are, even though the executives could do this. Why do we want to go that route? We want buy-in. We want the managers who define the KPIs, they're going to be held accountable with targets set by the executives to basically meet or exceed those targets. So we want their involvement. It also solves another problem. For them to identify the projects and initiatives or core processes, they're going to understand the strategy. So now the managers, unlike the 10 employees in the hallway, they're going to understand that strategy. Scorecard's much more of a social tool than a technical tool. And this may surprise you, but many people claim they have put in a balanced scorecard. I asked them, did you put in a strategy map? No. The strategy map is 10 to 20 times more important than the balanced scorecard. The balanced scorecard is just a feedback mechanism. The real intelligence is in the strategy map. Now, strategy is not static, it's dynamic, it changes over time. And so I want to show you as we cascade down, notice at the top, X, Y, and Z. That's the 3 KPIs for the executive team, market share, increase, profit. And then we cascade down. But when things change, notice what just happened. The executives now basically have to make changes. They may have the same 3 KPIs, but look what happened to the manager the next level down. Their KPIs before the change was E, F, and G. Now it's E, F, and Q. G is no longer a KPI. Q replaces it. So it's basically dynamic. That means the executives can fly the plane like a jet, if you will, to execute the strategy. A way to think about this whole question is, imagine if every employee every day could answer this single question. How am I doing on what is important? How am I doing on what is important? The first half of that question is easily answered. They come in the morning, they turn on their computer screen, they see 3 dials for their KPIs. Is the dial favorable or unfavorable to the target set by the executives? The real challenge is the second half of the question on what is important. How do we define the KPIs? I'll briefly talk about them. So the strategy map of the balanced scorecard provides this answer. The overriding purpose of a strategy map and its scorecard system is to make mission and strategy everyone's job. It's almost like making owners in the employees. Now, here's a problem. When I've talked to organizations that have put in their balanced scorecard, I ask, hey, how many KPIs are in your KPI? Oh, 120. 120, that's fabulous. But how can they all be a K? How can they all be a key? So I basically have investigated, and if you get these slides and you click on the link here, you're going to see this next slide that I'm going to show you that differentiates KPIs, key performance indicators, from operating performance indicators. So let me walk you through it. If we start at the top, the KPIs, they are strategic, okay? Now, key thing, they must have targets. If a KPI does not have a target, it does not qualify. And so they're displayed in the balanced scorecard, okay? Down in the bottom right, OPIs, they're operational. They can have targets, but they don't have to have targets. They could be trends or upper bound, lower. OPIs are displayed in dashboards where KPIs are displayed in balanced scorecard. Why? Because the balanced scorecard has cause and effect relationships. Remember, going up through the 4 perspectives. Dashboards, like in your automobile, they're not really connected, fuel, gas, and so forth, okay? So another thing, the KPIs must come from the strategy map, the strategy diagram. You first basically create that, and that's how you define the KPIs. Now, this may interest you. I have a technique to implement a strategy map and balanced scorecard for clients in 2 days. And it's based on the premise that managers learn by doing. They don't learn just by reading and having lectures like you're listening to me now. And my workshop is based on what's called a method called strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. I think everybody's heard of this. The acronym is SWOT, SWOT. And what I do is the night before the workshop, I ask the 5, 6, or 7 executives, and the key line managers, there's 5 or 6 or 7 of them, fill out 20 yellow Post-its on SWOT. Now look at the photograph to the left. I then ask them, go to the wall, and I have the wall now left to right, the 4 perspectives, learning and growth, to process, to customer, to financial. I say, put your yellow Post-it under one of the 4 perspectives. It's pretty easy to do. Now I say, go back to the wall, and this takes about a half hour. I said, and do not talk to each other, although they get excited because they're now talking about their strategy. And I say, look at other yellow Post-its that are similar. And since they're on these sticky backs, move them tangent to another. And if you look at the middle picture, you can see that there are clusters of the yellow Post-its under the 4 perspectives. Okay. So now I ask them, let's define that cluster as a strategic objective. So you can see the white sheets of paper now is each one of them was defined as a strategic objective. Now we're at lunchtime, so we've got that done. Now what do we do after lunch? The time for KPIs. We ask them, what would be a measure or metric to monitor the progress towards accomplishing the KPIs? And notice that's the definition of a KPI, monitoring the progress towards accomplishing the strategic objectives. That's different than the definition for OPIs. OPIs are measuring a process, cycle time reduction, quality, and so forth. So now we're done. You can see the picture to the right. There I am with one of my clients. It's on the wall. Before I leave, I then ask them, you've got 2 paths that you can go. You can come back tomorrow in this room and do this more slowly because I took you through it very quickly. I just wanted to help you visualize what is a strategy map and balanced scorecard for your organization. It's very engaging when it's themselves. I say, but the other path that you could take is now delegate the strategy map, just the strategy map, to your first line managers. Give them a week for them to define the projects and initiatives to accomplish the strategic objectives or the core processes to improve, and for them to define the KPIs. Why do we want to do that? It's the slide I showed earlier. One, by delegating it to them, they're going to get buy-in. They're going to be measured by those KPIs, so they're the ones that came up with it when you put the targets on the executive with the target, and more, they're going to understand the strategy. Now, I was involved with a task force with the American Society for Quality. If you want to look at their website, it's www.asq.org. They're the whole world of, total quality management, Six Sigma. And in our task force, we wrote a paper on 10 other types of strategic planning tools. Now, you notice number 1 and number 2 are the balanced scorecard and the strategy map. But if you're interested, and if you go to that link, you'll be able to read about all of the other ones. I am going to basically describe a couple of them. The first one is Hoshin Conry. It's a comprehensive one-page depiction of an organization's strategies, initiatives, tactics, and KPIs. It's a complex diagram. In the interest of time, I'm not going to walk you through it, but you get the idea, and you can do an internet search on Hoshin Conry and, walk your way through. You can see in that box, we've got tactics to the top, KPIs to the right, the year, the timing and level, and so forth. Another method is the business strategy canvas. This comes from a book, fairly popular book called The Blue Ocean Theory. And again, because I'm going through this quickly, if you do an internet search on the Blue Ocean Theory, you'll see the book. You can read summaries of the book, in books, Amazon. If some of you want to buy the book, go ahead. The canvas has 2 purposes. It captures the current state of the known market space, and it propels action by reorienting the focus from competitors to alternatives. Now, let me start concluding by bringing it all together. Here's the same slide that I showed you earlier, but let me now revisit it. Your assets and your employees are in the big purple box at the bottom, the organization's resources. Notice as we go up to the customer loyalty, that first question, this is more with activity-based costing and cost and profitability. Which type of customer is attractive to retain, to grow, to win back, or acquire? And which type are not? That's the questions that sales and marketing needs to be given answers for, because not all customers are profitable. In fact, a surprise, maybe the largest customer in sales revenue is unprofitable. Why? Because they're such high maintenance, always changing delivery schedule, never buying standard, always special, always returning goods, always calling help desk, and so on and so forth. So we need activity-based costing to solve that. But when we go to the left, there's that strategy mission. The whole left side of this diagram is the strategy management with the strategy map and balanced scorecard. Now let's go back to the ERP box. Notice there you have a counterclockwise circle there. What's happening there is that's the most universal core process in any organization: customer order, taking a customer order, completing the order. And so that's where we want to focus on better, faster, cheaper, cost reduction, cost management. That's for the process improvement people, lean management, Six Sigma, and what have you. But where's my management, accounting, and analytics in my diagram? I deliberately did not have it in there because the output of management, accounting, and analytics is pervasive. It goes everywhere. I'm going to go back to the upper screen. Notice again, the customer box goes way to the right and down into the shareholders. So this is our key, that our interactions with customers are what cause profitability and wealth creation for our shareholders and owners. One really needs activity-based costing to not only get rid of that overhead butter spreading, which is so flawed and misleading, but use the techniques of activity-based costing to trace and assign resource expenses through the end-to-end processes and the activities into products, service lines, channels, and customers. You get a profit and loss statement for each customer. And here, basically, I put a little more text on the diagram. Notice the strategy and mission is going to be defined by the executives on the needs of the customers. They'll communicate it down with scorecards, dashboards. That gives us that KPI feedback. Remember, if every employee can answer, how am I doing on what's important, and then we've got the rest of it. I don't know whether the bubbles are flowing. Maybe it is working. I'm not going to ask you, Shake, but these are like the veins in your system. So, but if any of these veins is restricted, I call it arteriosclerosis of the corporate performance management, then the money doesn't all flow to the shareholders. It leaks into the sewer. So, we have inefficient processes. We're targeting the wrong customers. So this diagram should be a vision of where you want your organization to be in the next few years. Now, what's really happening is there's a shift in the return on investment to organizations, financial investment, from tangible assets to an intangible asset like information. And you'll notice in this diagram, the return on investment from information, from left to right, as we go from data to information to knowledge to insights, decisions, as we go left to right, it increases exponentially. The problem is many organizations are stuck and restricted only to the first two red bubbles to the left. All they have is raw data and standard reports. All that they can answer is what happened. And in some cases, the IT director has given some of the managers what's called business intelligence software, like Tableau or Click. My employer, SAS, it allows one to drill down, like if there's an anomaly, a different purchase order is out of a whack, why drill into it? But the managers are still restricted to only answering what happened. Corporate performance management methods start, and someone's online, so if you could mute yourself, please. As we move, the first blue bubble is where corporate performance management starts. It's modeling, strategy map. is basically a model of the executive team strategy. Activity-based costing, when you get into it, is really modeling through a multi-stage cost assignment network, resource expenses to activities to cost objects. It's not T accounts and journal entries, it's modeling. So now managers not only know what happened, why did it happen? Because we've got cause and effect. Now, when we move to the next bubble, now we're talking about the future view coming at us, predictive modeling. So that's where we get into driver-based budgeting, rolling financial forecasts, what-if scenarios, and so forth. At the very top, the highest level, I call it Mount Everest, is prescriptive analytics. Basically, it's optimization. So I'm going to conclude with my big frustration. Why the buy-in for corporate performance? Why has the adoption rate for all of these methods, including the balanced scorecard and strategy map, been so slow? Well, here are 3 reasons or barrier categories. The first one is IT related. It's technical barriers. It's dirty data, meaning people put in the wrong information into the system at the beginning. Let me give an example. Let's say that you're a large conglomerate and you want to basically negotiate lower prices with your big suppliers. But you've got multiple divisions. So let's say one division and the supplier we want to focus is General Electric, they put in their vendor master file, General Electric, they spell it out. The other division's got GEN apostrophe L Electric. Another division's just got GE, those 2 letters. Well, when the headquarter people do their analysis to see the volume, that's going to look like 3 different suppliers. So there's a tool that IT uses called ETL, extraction, transform, and load, and it will standardize, let's say on that General Electric spelled out, put it into all the vendor master files, and now they can do it. The second barrier is a perception of excess complexity and affordability. I demonstrate most managers, executives think, it'll take too long. It ain't really worth the effort. I showed you with the pictures earlier on that you can get a strategy map and its balanced scorecard in 2 days. Those of you who have attended some of my other India Labs presentations on activity-based costing, I have a technique that called rapid prototyping with iterations can implement an ABC system in 3 weeks, not 6 months. And those of you who are consultants that are basically doing these work jobs for your clients, please directly communicate with me because I can share with you, transfer my knowledge to you on how you can better serve your clients. But the biggest complication and barrier is really the third one. It's got nothing to do with software, nothing to do with technology, nothing to do with systems. It's all about with people. And it starts with resistance to change. It's human nature. People like the status quo, don't rock my boat, but other concerns, fear of knowing the truth, fear of other departments knowing the truth. I don't want the other departments to know what my costs and expenses are. Fear of being measured, fear of being held accountable, weak leadership. There, I said it. Not every executive team has got the highest IQ. So the real issue is basically requires soft skills of behavioral change management. Saladin Orzak, who basically did the summit presentation just before me, his presentation, and I listened to all of it, was excellent, was all about soft skills, readiness for change, not about the hard skills about measuring and cost accounting and so forth. So what really is needed is people, managers like you listening to me, need those soft skills. Many of you are what I call Newtonian managers, like Isaac Newton, the physicist. To you, the world's a big machine. Give me the levers, the pulleys, and dials. What you need to transcend into is more Darwinian, like Charles Darwin, the biologist. It's an organization, sense and respond. So you've got to basically take care of getting buy-in and overcoming resistance. I will conclude with this slide. One of my corporate performance management books to the left, I asked my publisher, which is John Wiley, they're WILE.com, and you can go to their website. And every one of my books, chapter 1 is a free download, so you don't need to buy the book. But I said, I want greasy, grimy, broken gears as an analogy or metaphor. And here's the point. Imagine that The gears in your car are broken and some of them are disengaged, or maybe someone also put sand in there. If your fuel efficiency would still run, the car would, but the fuel efficiency would be low. Now look to the right. Titanium gears, spinning faster revolutions per minute, lubricated, digitized. Now put that in your automobile. What's your fuel efficiency? Much higher. Now replace the analogy or metaphor of fuel efficiency in an automobile with rate of shareholder and owner wealth creation. That's the whole idea here. Make the revolutions per minute, RPM, of the corporate performance management and business analytic gear spin not only better, faster, cheaper, cost reduction, safer, bring in risk management, smarter, GPS. So I'll conclude with the action steps. Get educated, get buy-in. Thank you. By attending this, you are rapid prototyping with iteration. Start small, think big. I'm not an expert with motivational theory, but I know incentives matter, whether it's commissions and bonuses. I have put 3 links under the resources that if you get the PDF, you should be able to click on them. The first one is a 7-minute read, and you could share this with some of your other colleagues and people in your company. The second link is a 20-minute read, and the last one really goes into the OPIs versus KPIs. From theory to practice, your success depends on how well and how fast the right information intelligence gets to the right people. So there is my email address to send me questions, my website. You're welcome to invite me to connect in LinkedIn, but if you do, please put the optional message. And Sheikh, I'm going to hand it back to you for concluding remarks.
So thank you, Gary. Thank you very much for excellent presentation and explanation how the balance scorecard is connected to the operations, and also the overview of the performance management. I really enjoyed and learn every time I hear you. I keep hearing you for last 10 years, but each time I hear, I get something to learn. So thank you very much. And yeah, it has been an excellent day for us. And I'm very happy that your keynote concludes the event. Okay. So I'm just eager. Many people are eagerly waiting for listening to you. Because, of the time constraints, we have to schedule to your convenience, because this time slot is for Indian times. Okay. So thank you for joining all the way in the morning and apology for keeping you waiting for 40 minutes. Okay. So I take this as an opportunity on behalf of participants, organizers. So great thank you to you. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Have a good time. Take care.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So it has been a long sessions today and yesterday. So I would like to pay a vote of thanks to all of you. So let me start with day 1. So we started yesterday fantastic sessions with. First of all, I would like to say that from Fruit Strategy team, I'm very happy to sponsor the event. Uh, so we are trying to connect strategy consultants, industry experts, and practitioners across the globe to the organizations, and then the executives. And then I think we have done a fairly decent job in doing so, because so many registrations and so many people are attending, and very kind uh, speakers giving lectures for free. So that is something they are very kind of their knowledge, they are sharing it. So I sincerely appreciate to all speakers and participants, organizers. Thank you very much. So we started, just to summarize, we started yesterday from a topic from Ravi Ramanathan, strategy analysis driven by AI. So we had a very fantastic session of the event with Ravi, talking about strategy analysis and driven by AI. Then continued by Muhammad Sheikh, the design thinking of strategy formulation. So that was a fantastic session. And then I talk about how Fruit Strategy help you to do strategy analysis and formulation part. the first half of the strategy formulation. Mustafa Hebbasi, he talked about business transformation yesterday, and then Brian Cladden, business model refresh. So he had a very decent, and he joined from US all the way in the midnight. So he joined. Alex Milonovic has talk about formulating and winning strategies in VUCA environment. Alan Fell very nicely explained about leadership in the strategy management. So Andrew Constable talk about blue ocean strategy and open up for new market spaces. Fantastic session and concluded by Rajesh Tedla, who was talking about strategy, planning, and execution in turbulent times. Okay, so he concluded, and then we started fantastic day today with Ajay Shankar Gupta, Dr. Ajay Shankar Gupta, on organizational performance alignment using BSC, and he gave a nice use case. Then followed by EO, who talk about PMO, how strategy is executed through programs and projects. The PMO as a strategy office, fantastic. Then Alberto Manzo has extended talking about aligning structure, people, and culture, and with strategy. So he has a fantastic session for the culture part of the strategy, so which is very very important, and he explained it very briefly. And then I had a chance to give a very nice overview of fruit strategy, and how the strategy execution part take up. I also give some overview on strategy formulation. So if anybody has missed, they can listen to this. Sandeep Katoja has explained, he's a CFO, he explained very nicely about cross-functional execution. His presentation is mostly on based on his experience, and yeah, so they're working successfully now. And in the afternoon session, we started with Mihai. As usual, he gave a very decent lecture on organizational alignment and execution. Those slides are will be made available for you. Anybody wants to see it, the recording is there. Okay. Khalid Noor gave us a strategic capital allocation. This is a special topic on account of finance. Those who wants to know about the capital allocation, it's a must view session. Okay, Salahuddin has explained very nicely about business transformation for government sector. Actually, so is your organization really ready? So he gave a case study for government organization, and he talked about the soft things, what is required for the transformation. Finally, concluded by Gary Cokins, he talked about balanced scorecard, bringing strategy and daily operations. So it's a like a 18 hours session yesterday and today. So I'm thanking you all. So thank you for attending and encouraging us. We keep doing it. Our next session will be somewhere in December. So until then, so thank you very much. Have a great time, and have a wonderful evening. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much.